Hi, my name is Sam Led, and welcome to The Fearless Now. This is for you in the nosebleed seats, if you're looking for an easier way to approach anxiety, stress, and unhealthy habits from the inside out. There's no techniques and no strategies, so sit back, relax, and let me be your peace of mind Uber driver, here on The Fearless Now. Welcome to episode number 18 of the Fearless Now podcast. I want to thank all of you for your support and for liking, subscribing, and commenting on these episodes. We're really getting traction now. And as you know, we are now on all the podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google. It's just exciting. And I never thought that I would get past episode number 10, but here we are. I love sharing the insight and wisdom of the three principles that were discovered by this brilliant Scottish mystic, Sydney Banks, who really changed the way I looked at the world and saw myself, that, we are beyond the illusion of thought and thinking. And today's episode, getting back to the present moment, the great pattern interrupter, what does that mean? Well, the way I'm going to describe what that is to share a brief story about a client that I had about 6 or 7 years ago. And this is when I was consulting at the drug treatment center that was a private drug treatment center in Malibu, California, in the Malibu Canyon area. And some of the most rewarding one-on-one session work that I've done in my career as a coach was working with recovery clients. Anybody would agree with me that recovery clients are some of the most brilliant, insightful, and just wonderful people to work with that are just caught up and are working through some really tough stuff. And when I started to introduce the Understanding Three Principles many years later to clients that were in recovery, not working there, but working one-on-one, it was amazing, the epiphanies and just that it just clicked for them. Oh my God, it's all thought. It's all made up. It doesn't exist. It's just an illusion. Unwrap some of that conditioning about the judgments I had about myself and about my future and blah, blah, blah. So this client that I was working with, it was a challenging case. And the client really wanted nothing to do with me or any of the staff. When the client was admitted, the client was combative and just angry and reactive and just didn't want to participate in day-to-day activities. And it was a young man in his early 20s, dropped out of college, just really lost his way. And the day I was supposed to meet with him and work with him for the first time, I asked the therapist on staff if I could just go on a walk with him, maybe take a small hike. And the therapist or the counselor on staff could follow us from behind. And she said, yeah, that'd be no problem. So I really had no expectations about if I was going to get through to this client or if anything at all was going to happen. And I met with the client and we exchanged pleasantries. He really was not really happy with me. In fact, he didn't really say much. He didn't even look at me straight in the eye. He didn't even smile or nothing. He was just caught up in his own head and probably trying to plot how to run away and leave. And so we went on this beautiful walk up in the canyon, views of the ocean and the Malibu Canyon. And it was just gorgeous. And it was just me and him and the counselor about 5 feet behind us. And for the first 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes of the walk, there was complete silence, dead silence. All you could hear was the wind whistling. It was a windy day, I remember. It was a warm day. So there were the Santa Ana winds blowing through the canyon. It was just really windy and peaceful. And he looked straight ahead as we were walking. And then I asked him, I said, hey, where are you from? We just exchanged pleasantries. And he's like, yeah, I'm from Chicago. And we just started talking like one bloke to the other. Not me as a coach and him as a client, but just two buds, two mates just walking together. And after about 5 minutes of us just exchanging surface-oriented details about ourselves, he looked at me and he said, I haven't felt so calm and so peaceful in my entire life. And I looked at him and I said, why do you feel so calm and peaceful right now? And he said, because I just felt the wind on my face and my hair and the beautiful sun. And I just got really quiet. Now, understand this. I knew nothing about the three principles. I didn't have any kind of training or introduction to that until much later on in my coaching career. So this is before the three principles changed my life and before I started sharing it with clients. And I said to him, so what I saw and observed in my client was complete and utter presence. I knew nothing about what drugs he was addicted to or how long he was supposed to be here or what his future was looking like. We didn't talk about his career or about what he's going to do after college or if he's going to go back to college. All we did was talk about the present moment. And he said to me, he's like, I wish I could always feel this way. And I looked at him and I saw the sun just hitting the side of his face, and it was just beautiful. He looked like an angel. He was a young kid in his early 20s. And I said to him, maybe there have been many other times you felt so calm and at peace, but you just weren't paying attention. And he looked at me. He's like, yeah, you're probably right. And I said to him, what do you want to talk about? Then we started talking about his family, how he grew up in a very religious household, how he was raised to be polite and respectful, and that he had a very nice childhood, but it was a kind of a reserved and strict childhood growing up in a very observant Catholic household. And he really never got quiet, even amidst the beauty of spirituality and his religion and his Catholicism. He never really was able to get quiet, or that's what he said to me. And I looked at him like there was nothing wrong with him. In fact, I said that to him. I said to him, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You just got carried away on chemical substances and it made you sick. And nobody wanted you to die. So you're here for a period of time until you're healthy. And then you go back into the world and you try again. And he looked at me with these calm eyes. He was completely present in the moment. He's like, yeah, I know I can find that peace again. Just taking a walk when I'm home or sitting in my car, quiet, just being still. So maybe that's the trick to being sober. I said to him, I smiled at him and I chuckled. I said, you know what? You're onto something. And he discovered something that Sydney Banks discovered when he had this epiphany that we are not the sum total of our thinking, that we are just one thought away from mental health, from well-being. That when we are dropped out of our thinking and into the present moment, that happens naturally when our brain self-corrects and gets untangled from the sped up thinking that we all get tangled up on from time to time. We all get to see that there's a quiet and conscious knowing outside of our caught upness in our state of mind. That coming home to who we are is about getting quiet. But being temporarily stuck in our heads and not being present, we temporarily forget who we are. And then that's where it all goes wrong. That's when my client started using drugs because he started to believe the stories. He thought he was his story going on in his head. He thought he was the sum total of his story going on in his head. He forgot how resilient and how loving and how hopeful he is when he's present. So, we all get caught up there. Thankfully, a lot of us get caught up and then we drop back down into the present moment. We don't stay there forever. It's a pretty crazy place to be in our heads all the time. And some of us are. The toxic behaviors that some of us engage in when we get really convinced by our thinking that whatever it is we need to do to calm down our thinking is to take a substance is an extreme form of really believing your thinking when it's caught up, when it's sped up, when it's in a dark place. But when we, like my client did, see for the first time that spaciousness of quiet, of just stillness, it's in that moment, in that little tiny space that we get to see what's really available there, that we have moments of complete calm when we're not even paying attention to the complete calm. But the more we pay attention to that complete calm, it's where all the great stuff happens. It's when we see our true nature underneath the temporary noise. And when we see that the noise goes away on its own, if we pay attention to the noise going away on its own, that our brain has this wonderful noise reduction system that corrects on its own without doing anything. It's in those moments, just like my client saw, that we get to figure out what we want to do next in life, or figure out how to stay sober, like my client did, or figure out who to date, or figure out who to marry, or figure out how to create that next business. We don't create and find solutions to our problems when we are caught up. We don't find any of those answers in our heads, even though our mind convinces us that we need to find the answers up here, that in order for us to stay safe, we need to believe in the nonstop narrative, the negative narrative going on in our head that we are sometimes playing or replaying in our minds when we're caught up in the machinery of our thinking. So the next time you get quiet, just like my client did, The next time you have a moment of complete peace and you can take a deep breath and breathe in the fresh air, or when you're on your lunch break and it's just so peaceful, get curious about that space. Get curious about your thinking when you're not in your thinking, and what is real and what is an illusion. I hope this has been helpful. If I've been able to kind of jumpstart a feel-good feeling in all of you, then I've done my job. This podcast is made possible by you in the nosebleed seats. Please like, subscribe, comment, tell your friends so they can tell their friends and they can tell their friends, and so on and so on. I love doing this work. I love doing these episodes, and I will see you next week for another Fearless episode. Here, present, and talking in this microphone on the Fearless Now podcast. Take care.